Why was Moses so unique from all other prophets in the Bible? Today we have a story from a very known and an important figure from the Bible, Moses. According to the Bible in the Old Testament, Moses was born in Egypt during the time when the Israelites were slaves to the Pharaoh. His mother, Jochebed, placed him in a basket and set him adrift on the Nile River to save him from the Pharaoh's decree that all Hebrew baby boys should be killed. The story of Moses is one of the most well-known and revered stories in the Old Testament. Moses was chosen by God to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and into the Promised Land. He was known for his faithfulness to God, his leadership skills, and his intimate communication with God. But apart from all great figures in the Bible, Moses' story is one of the most unique and hard to comprehend. Moses' encounters with God set him apart and make him stand out from all other figures in the Bible. Unlike other prophets, God communicated directly with Moses. In the book of Exodus, it is mentioned that God spoke to Moses face to face as one speaks to a friend. Exodus 33:11. Moses was able to speak to God and receive instructions directly, which gave him a deeper understanding of God's will and purpose. One of the most well-known stories about Moses is his desire to see God. In the book of Exodus, Moses asked God to show him his glory. Then Moses said, "Now show me your glory." And the Lord said, "I will cause all my goodness to pass in front of you, and I will proclaim my name, the Lord, in your presence. I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. But," he said, "you cannot see my face, for no one may see me and live." Exodus 33:18-20, NNI 5. Instead of showing Moses his face, God told him to stand on a rock and covered him with his hand as he passed by, revealing only his back. Then the Lord said, "There is a place near me where you may stand on a rock. When my glory passes by, I will put you in a cleft in the rock and cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will remove my hand and you will see my back, but my face must not be seen." Exodus 33:21-23 NIV. This story illustrates the idea that humans cannot fully comprehend or see God, who is beyond human understanding. It also emphasizes the importance of faith and trust in God's plan and guidance, even when we may not fully understand it. Another unique story about Moses' meeting with God face to face was the one about the tent of meeting. As illustrated from Exodus 33, now Moses used to take a tent and pitch it outside the camp some distance away, calling it the tent of meeting. Anyone inquiring of the Lord would go to the tent of meeting outside the camp. And whenever Moses went out to the tent, all the people rose and stood at the entrances to their tents, watching Moses until he entered the tent. As Moses went into the tent, the pillar of cloud would come down and stay at the entrance, while the Lord spoke with Moses. Whenever the people saw the pillar of cloud standing at the entrance to the tent, they all stood and worshipped, each at the entrance to his tent. The Lord would speak to Moses face to face, as a man speaks with his friend. Then Moses would return to the camp, but his young aide, Joshua son of Nun, did not leave the tent. Another interesting story about Moses' encounter with God was the face shining story. The story of Moses' face shining is found in the biblical book of Exodus. According to the text, Moses had gone up to Mount Sinai to receive the 10 Commandments from God. He spent 40 days and 40 nights in God's presence, during which time he neither ate nor drank. When Moses returned to the Israelites, he was not aware that his face had become radiant from being in the presence of God. The people were afraid to approach him because of the shining, so he covered his face with a veil. The shining of Moses' face is seen as a symbol of his special relationship with God and his role as the leader of the Israelites. It is also interpreted as a sign of the divine light and presence that Moses brought back with him from Mount Sinai. The story of Moses' shining face has inspired many interpretations and has been the subject of much artistic and literary representation over the centuries. It continues to be a powerful symbol of faith, enlightenment, and divine revelation for many people today. The last pick for the interesting encounters that Moses had with God was in front of all people of Israel, as portrayed in Exodus 19:20. The story begins with the Israelites arriving at the foot of Mount Sinai, where God tells Moses to come up to the mountain. Moses climbs the mountain and God speaks to him, saying that if the Israelites keep his covenant, they will be his treasured possession among all peoples. As the Israelites approached Mount Sinai, they were filled with fear and trepidation. They knew that God was going to meet with them, and they were afraid of his power and might. Suddenly there was a loud clap of thunder, and lightning lit up the sky. The ground beneath their feet shook, and a thick cloud descended upon the mountain. God then instructs Moses to go back down the mountain and tell the Israelites to consecrate themselves for 2 days before he will come down to speak to them. On the third day, there is thunder and lightning on the mountain, and a thick cloud covers it, which terrifies the Israelite. From within the cloud, a voice boomed, "I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. You shall have no other gods before me." The people trembled in fear as God continued to speak, giving them the 10 Commandments and other laws that would govern their lives. But as terrifying as this encounter with God was, there was also a sense of awe and wonder that permeated the air. The Israelites could sense the power and majesty of the Almighty, and they knew that they were in the presence of something greater than themselves. As they listened to the booming voice of God, they were filled with a sense of reverence and respect. They knew that they were being given a sacred and precious gift, and that they had been chosen by God to be his people. And so, as they stood on the mountain, trembling with fear and awe, the Israelites knew that their lives would never be the same. They had been given a set of laws and commandments that would guide them for generations to come, and they had experienced the awesome power of God firsthand. It was a moment that they would never forget, and it would shape their lives and their faith for all time.